The Vorkai did not have a word for confused. They had 47 words for superior tactical positioning. They had words for the specific fear scent of 19 different sapient species. They had a word, Krethsolan. That meant the moment prey realizes, too late, what is happening. But confused? Grethsolic 9 Kills had to borrow the concept from an outdated Terran linguistic database, and even then it didn't quite fit. What he was experiencing felt less like confusion and more like standing in front of a star that refused to explode on schedule. He activated his field recorder. Field observation log, specimen, Terran female, designation, Orion, apparent companion. Observer, Grethsolic 9 Kills, Vorkai apex predator, class 7 intelligence operative. Subject, Solara, Terran female, approximately 28 cycles. Hour, 0600 planetary standard. Subject has exited sleeping quarters. Subject is wearing one sock. She is staring at the opposing sock as though it has personally wronged her. She has not moved in 4 minutes. She is making a sound. I have cross-referenced this sound against 42 languages. It means nothing. It is not a threat display. It is not a mating call. It is not a distress signal. She has put the sock on the wrong foot. She is aware of this. She is continuing anyway. Threat assessment, recalibrating. The Vorkai were, by every measurable metric, the most feared species in the known galaxy. Their skeletal structure alone, 7-foot frames wrapped in adaptive chitin that shifted color with their emotional state, 4 upper appendages built for both precision and catastrophic violence, had been enough to send 3 separate civilizations into voluntary extinction rather than share a star system. Their intelligence operatives had collapsed economies, dismantled governments, extracted confessions from beings who had sworn, on their species' most sacred truths, that they would never speak. Grethsolic 9 Kills had personally ended the career of a Mercani crime lord by leaving a single feather on his breakfast plate. He was, in the clinical Vorkai sense of the word, efficient. And somehow, 3 days ago, he had agreed to follow a human woman through a mid-tier space station because his commanding officer had said, with an expression that conveyed deep institutional embarrassment, "We need to understand them before we can negotiate with them, 9 Kills. You're the best. Just observe. Just observe." He had been observing for 72 hours. He had more questions now than when he started. Hour, 0900. Subject, Solara, has entered the station's central market. I am maintaining a distance of 12 meters, which I have determined to be the minimum safe threshold after the incident on day 1, when she looked directly at my concealment field and said, to no one, "That trash compactor is definitely haunted." She is purchasing food. She is rejecting the first 3 vendors with a gesture I have analyzed as either displeasure or a mild spinal condition. She has stopped at a stall. The vendor is Keth Rayleigh, 8-limbed, venomous, known across 6 sectors for breaking a Jovian trade delegate's will in under 4 hours. The Keth Rayleigh vendor is now giving her a free sample. He is smiling. I did not know Keth Rayleigh could smile. Their facial structure does not. He gave her more free samples. She is patting his arm. His color is the biological equivalent of, "I would die for this stranger." I have fought Keth Rayleigh. I have studied Keth Rayleigh. I have never, in 30 years of field work, seen a Keth Rayleigh vendor demonstrate the mammalian bonding response. Threat assessment, unknown. Revising upward. What was it, Grethsolic was coming to understand, that made humans so profoundly destabilizing? It was not their physical capability. They were soft, fragile. They required 8 hours of unconsciousness every planetary cycle to function, which, from a tactical standpoint, was an almost comically exploitable vulnerability. They had no natural weapons. Their visual range was pathetically narrow. Their sense of smell was so diminished it bordered on sensory disability. And yet, there was a Keth Rayleigh vendor on the 3rd level of the Tharsis station market who was now, apparently, saving a portion of his best stock for a human woman who had patted his arm for 4 seconds. Grethsolic added a new entry to his log. Hour, 1300. Subject has stopped in the corridor outside Maintenance Base 7. There is a small creature here, a Pelin dust scuttler, roughly the size of a Terran fist, which has apparently become trapped behind a ventilation grate. Pelin dust scuttlers are considered vermin on 48 of the 62 stations in this sector. They bite. They carry 3 transmissible infections. The maintenance guild charges 40 credits to remove them. Celera has been here for 22 minutes. She is talking to it. She is not talking at it in the way a being might address vermin. She is explaining, I have the audio recording, that the great mechanism works better if you don't rush it, and that she is almost there, don't panic. The Pelin dust scuttler has not bitten her. The Pelin dust scuttler has, if my bioscanners are reading correctly, stopped emitting its defensive musk. She has opened the grate. The Pelin dust scuttler has run directly over her hand, paused, and then continued into the ventilation system. Celera has said, You're welcome, buddy. There is no scientific framework in the Vorkai intelligence database for what I have just witnessed. Threat level, escalating. Reason, unknown. This is the problem. It was the unknown that was doing it to him. In 30 years, Greth Solak 9 Kills had operated on a principle that had never failed him. Everything can be understood if you observe it long enough. Fear could be mapped. Aggression had patterns. Even love, that chaotic mammalian affliction, followed biological logic once you stripped it back to its evolutionary scaffolding. Humans were not following the logic. He had now watched Celera free a pest animal with apparent sincerity, negotiate a price reduction from a Yethrin merchant by complimenting his hat. Yethrins had no concept of hats. She'd apparently invented one on the spot, and he'd been too charmed to argue. Cry briefly in a corridor over something on a small screen, then immediately laugh at herself for crying. Then offer the leftover portion of her lunch to a dock worker she'd never met because he had, apparently, looked hungry. She moved through the station like a weather event that hadn't decided what it was yet. Everything she touched either softened or shifted. He had been sent here to find a weakness. He was beginning to suspect she didn't have one in any register he knew how to read. Hour, 1800. Subject has returned to her quarters. Her companion, designation Orion, is present. He is what Terran databases classify as a large male, which in human terms means he is approximately my shoulder height, which I note only because it is relevant to what follows. I have observed Orion for 17 minutes. He is competent, watchful. The way he moves through space communicates, to anyone fluent in threat language, that he has done violence before and found it unremarkable. Celera has handed him a cup of something. He has taken it without looking up from his screen. He has, 3 minutes later, looked up, found her reading in the chair across the room, and his entire physiological profile has. There is not a precise Vorkai term for what his expression did. It is the face of something that has found, after a long time searching, exactly what it was looking for, and is now very careful not to startle it. He looked away before she noticed. I have studied threat assessment for 30 years. I have never felt like I was intruding before tonight. Greth Solak 9 Kills filed his report at 2100 station time. It was the first report in his career that he submitted without a tactical recommendation. Subject assessment, Solara, Terran female. Prepared by Greth Solak 9 Kills, Class 7 Vorkai Intelligence Operative. The subject presents no conventional threat profile. She is not large, not armed, not strategically trained by any recognized military standard. In 72 hours of observation, she has established a voluntary loyalty response in a Keth-Rayleigh vendor, de-escalated a potentially violent corridor dispute through the application of snack food, expressed 6 distinct emotional states within a single afternoon without apparent instability, and rehabilitated a vermin animal that has bitten 3 maintenance workers this calendar month. She operates without a threat model. I mean this precisely. She does not appear to calculate threat. She approaches entities, hostile, neutral, unknown, with something I can only describe as persistent openness. The openness is not naivete. It is not stupidity. It is a studied, practiced, functional choice. I do not know how to model it. I have spent 30 years studying everything that frightens people. I am deeply uncertain what to do with something that simply doesn't. Recommendation: I would like to request a 4th day of observation. For methodological completeness. 3 levels up, in quarters she had no idea were being monitored, Celera put down her book, looked at Orion, and said, Do you ever get the feeling something out there is watching us? Orion looked up, scanned the room, looked back at her. No, he said. A very long pause. Why? She shrugged. The trash compactor on level 3 just feels really present, you know? He stared at her. She went back to her book. Outside. In the corridor, something 7 feet tall and wrapped in adaptive chitin held extremely, profoundly still, and added one final line to its field log. She knows. Or she doesn't know and operates as though she does, which is functionally identical and somehow more alarming. I need a 5th day?